Hello, this is HQ Jones, and this is HQ Videos for You. And I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Valentine's Day, as well as a happy Black History Month. And the celebration of both Black History Month and Valentine's Day, I want to do a video on my favorite Black romantic comedies. Now, what was a little disturbing, I have a collection of close to 6,000, probably more if I count the ones that are bootleg. And just to let you know right here, on my CLZ Movies app, I have 5,777 listed. So out of that, this is what I came up for Black romantic comedies. There's some more, but they're probably rather obscure, low budget, independent. You probably never heard of the people in there. So I thought it was rather sad that out of all the movies, this is the only ones I can really pull from. But nevertheless, give me a second. Let's go over these one by one. Hopefully, these are some that you have seen, and maybe some that you haven't seen, and maybe this will coax you or coerce you into checking them out. Hold on. First, we have Two Can Play That Game, starring Vivica Fox, Morris Chestnut, Anthony Anderson, Gabrielle Union, and Wendy Raquel Robinson. This movie came out 2001, and the story behind this, Vivica A. Fox sizzles as a woman scorned who plans to get her man back by any means necessary. And the comedy about players and those who get played. As a corporate overachiever and all-around fly chick, Shantae Smith Fox thinks she's got the goods to keep the slicker boyfriend Morris Chestnut from straying until he discovers a greener pasture. Shantae's arch rival, Gabrielle Union. So Two Can Play That Game. Insert, and Vivica looking very fine. Two Can Play That Game. Next we have Best Man, starring Taye Diggs as Harper Stewart, Nia Long as Jordan Armstrong, Morris Chestnut as Lance Sullivan, Harold Perrineau as Julian Murch, and Terrence Howard as Quentin. The plot behind this, Harper, a writer who's about to explode into the mainstream, leaves behind his girlfriend Robin and heads to New York City to serve as best man for his friend Lance's wedding. Once he reunites with the rest of his college circle. So, excellent movie. This was produced by Spike Lee, director Malcolm D. Lee, and this came out in 1999. The Best Man. Next, we have the sequel to Best Man, The Best Man Holiday, starring Monica Calhoun as Mia, Morris Chestnut as Lance, Melissa D'Souza as Shelby, Taye Diggs as Harper, and Regina Hall as Candace. Director Malcolm D. Lee, producer Malcolm D. Lee, and this came out in 2013. With this, the plot behind this, when college friends reunite after 15 years over the Christmas holidays, they discover just how easy it is for long-forgotten rivals and romances to be reignited. Excellent movie, great follow-up to the first, The Best Man. Next, we have Jamie Foxx as Quincy Watson, Gabrielle Union as Nikki Callis, Morris Chestnut as Evan Fields, Peter McNichol as Philip Gaskin, and Jennifer Esposito as Rita Monroe. Whatever happened to Jennifer Esposito? She was fine. But the plot behind this, inspired by his fiancée who dumped him, a man publishes a breakup handbook for men, becoming a best-selling author in the process. Very funny flick. What's funny is going through these, you're seeing the same actors and actresses which lets you know there's not a whole lot of diversity in Hollywood as far as black actors go. They really need to incorporate some more American black actors in some of their films. But very funny romantic comedy, breaking all the rules. Here we have the special collector's edition. Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, Coming to America, directed by John Landis. If you haven't seen this, just to give you the plot, Prince Hakeem, heir to the throne of Zamunda, leaves a tropical paradise kingdom in search of his queen. What better place than Queens, New York, to find his bride? Joined by his loyal servant and friend Semi, Hakeem attempts to blend in as an ordinary American and begin his search. Very funny, romantic comedy. It's a classic, probably, arguably one of Eddie Murphy's best works. The sequel's coming out. The question is, can the sequel have the same kind of impact as the initial? Comedy's a lot about timing. A lot of time when a comic is off and they come back, they're not as funny. However, you have someone like Dave Chappelle who took 10 years off and it was like he never left. So it'll be interesting to see what the sequel to Coming to America will be like. Coming to America. Next, I have Jumping the Broom, starring Angela Bassett as Mrs. Watson, Paula Patton as Sabrina Watson, Laz Alonso, Jason Taylor, Loretta Devine, Mrs. Taylor, Megan Good, I believe it's Blythe. Also, you have Mike Epps and Little Romeo, Masterpiece Son. Plot behind this: two very different families converge on Martha's Vineyard one weekend for a wedding, and it's more like the black bourgeoisie meets the middle class black family for a wedding, and what kind of goes on after that. This was released back in 2011, and out of all the actors and actresses on the films, the person that actually made the film for me was Little Romeo, Masterpiece Son. So very funny, very good romantic comedy. Definitely worth checking out. Jumping the Broom. Now, I do have two movies in my collection, black romantic comedies, that I haven't watched yet. So just give them some fair exposure. One of them is Baggage Claim. This is a 2013 release, starring Paula Patton as Montana Moore, Derek Luke as William Wright, Taye Diggs as Langston, Boris Kodjoe as Graham, Trey Songz as Damon, and it looks like you also have Jaimin Honusu in there also. The story behind this is pledging to keep herself from being the oldest and only woman in her entire family never to wed. Montana embarks on a 30-day, 30,000-mile expedition to charm a potential suitor in becoming her fiance. So I haven't watched this yet, so I can't say how good or bad this is. So I don't know, maybe the wife and I will watch this today on Valentine's Day. Baggage Claim. And the other romantic comedy that I have not seen in my collection is The Heart Specialist, starring Wood Harris as Dr. Sidney Zachary, Zoe Saldana as Donna, Brian J. Wright as Dr. Ray Howard, Maya Harrison as Valerie, and Scott Pauling as Dr. Graves. And this is a 2011 release. And you also have, looks like a lot of other stars. Looks like they make appearances on here, such as Maya, Method Man, Jasmine Guy, Marla Gibbs, Ed Asner. So looks like a star-studded cast. The plot behind this: suave Harvard Medical School grad Ray Howard seemed destined to specialize in womanizing. That is, until he heads to Florida to intern under the tutelage of Chief Resident Dr. Sidney Zachary. With help from his girlfriend, Dr. Z sets out to mold Ray into a caring, responsible doctor. Along the way, we share some important truths and a whole lot of humor in this sexy romantic comedy. So maybe I'll check this out again today with the other one, The Heart Specialist. Next, we have Think Like a Man. This was released back in 2012. This stars Michael Ealy as Dominic, Jerry Ferrara as Jeremy, Megan Good as Maya, Regina Hall as Candace, and Kevin Hart as Cedric. This was directed by Tim Story, produced by Rob Hardy, and written by Steve Harvey based on his book. And the plot behind this, the balance of power in couples relationships is upset when the women start using the advice in Steve Harvey's book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, to get more of what they want from their men. When the men realize that the women have gotten a hold of their relationship playbook, they decide that the best defense is a good offense and come up with a plan to use the information to their advantage. Very funny film, Think Like a Man. That's a nice inside cover art. And the follow-up to Think Like a Man is Think Like a Man 2. And this was released in 2014. Also starring Adam Brody, Michael Ealy, Jerry Ferrara, Megan Good, and Regina Hall. This was also directed by Tim Story, produced by Rob Hardy, also written by Steve Harvey. The plot on this one, all the couples are back for a wedding in Las Vegas, but plans for a romantic weekend go awry when their various misadventures get them into some compromising situations that threaten to derail their big event. Think Like a Man 2. And I'd be remiss if I were to do a black romantic comedy without adding these three. There's some other ones like Booty Call, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, a couple other ones I could have included though, but I couldn't leave these out. I'm going to start out with Brothers. Brothers was released in 2001, starring Morris Chestnut as Jackson Smith, D.L. Hughley as Derek West, Bill Bellamy as Brian Palmer, Shamar Moore as Terry White, and Gabrielle Union as Denise Johnson. This is directed by Gary Hardwick, produced by Doug McHenry, and written by Gary Hardwick. The plot behind this is a story of four African-American yuppies, a banker, a doctor, a lawyer, and a playboy, who call themselves the Brothers. When the playboy gets engaged, the other three friends find themselves having to come to terms with their own issues of commitment and honesty. And again, this was released back in 2001. I was debating whether or not this is considered a romantic comedy. It's kind of a coming of age story for men, but I thought I'd put it in there anyways. Brothers. Next we have Woo. This was released back in 1998, starring Jada Pinkett Smith as Woo, Tommy Davidson as Tim, Dwayne Martin as Frankie, Michael Ralph as Romaine, and Daryl Heath as Hop. This was written by Daisy von Schillermeyer, produced by John Singleton, and written by David C. Johnson. Plot behind this, gorgeous and extroverted Woo meets insecure and straight-laced law clerk Tim at a blind date. Very funny old school flick, 1998. Let's get this out. Woo. And next we have somewhat of a coming of age story, The Wood. This was released back in 1999. This stars Elaine J. Taylor as Ronald's mother, Omar Epps as Mike, Richard T. Jones as Slim, Sean Nelson as Young Mike, and Dwayne Finley as Young Slim. This is directed by Rick, I believe it's Famuyiwa, produced by Albert Berger, and the writer is, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name, Rick Famuyiwa, I believe. Story behind this, in the panicky, uncertain hours before his wedding, a groom with prenuptial jitters and his two best friends reminisce about growing up together in the middle-class African-American neighborhood of Inglewood, California. Flashing back to the 20-something trio's childhood exploits the memories, captures the mood and nostalgia of the 1980s era. So, excellent picture, The Wood. Now to finish this video, to pull my last favorite black romantic comedies, I'm going to have to dig back here to my Laserdisc collections and pull like 3 more movies. So hold on while I dig these out and pull up those movies. Hold on. Next we have Wes Craven's Vampire in Brooklyn. This is a 1995 release starring Eddie Murphy as Maximilian, Angela Bassett as Detective Rita Vader, Alan Payne as Detective Justice, Kadeem Hardison as Julius Jones, John Witherspoon, the late John Witherspoon, as Silas Green. This was directed by John Witherspoon, produced and written by Eddie Murphy. This was a 1995 release. And the story behind this, Maximilian, a lone survivor of a race of vampires, come to Brooklyn in search of a way to live past the next full moon. His ticket to survival is Rita, an NYPD detective, and Maximilian will do whatever necessary to put her under his spell. And this is the flip side, and again, this is the actual laser disc. So this is definitely in need of a Blu-ray release. Vampire in Brooklyn. Next we have Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. Again, this one having a couple different genres: comedy, drama, little music in it. But this is starring Tracy Camellia Johns as Nola Darling, Tommy Redmond Hicks as Jamie Overstreet, John Canada Terrell as Greer Childs, Spike Lee as Morris Blackman, Ray Dowell as Opal Gilstrap. Just directed, the plot behind this is the story of Nola Darling's simultaneous sexual relationships with 3 different men is told by her and her partners and other friends. All 3 men wanted her to commit solely to them. Nola resists being owned by a single partner. Just a fantastic movie. The back side of it. She's Gotta Have It. And this, by far, is probably one of my favorite movies ever. Eddie Murphy's Boomerang. This came out in 1992, starring Eddie Murphy as Marcus Graham, Robin Givens as Jacqueline, Halle Berry as Angela, David Alan Grier as Gerard, and Martin Lawrence as Tyler. It's directed by Reginald Hudlin, produced by Brian Grazer, and written by Barry Blaustein. The story behind this, Marcus is a successful advertising executive who woos and beds women almost at will. After a company merger, he finds that his new boss, the ravishing Jacqueline, is treating him in exactly the same way. Completely traumatized by this, his work goes badly downhill. And again, just one of my favorite movies. Fantastic one-liners in here. This might have been the first time you hear "Bang Bang Bang" by John Witherspoon. Just a fantastic movie. So hopefully you like this. This is just, well, most of my, if not all, my black romantic comedies. So if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button. If nothing else, give me a big thumbs up. Other than that, may the best of your past be the worst of your future. Peace.